Good morning to everybody and welcome to one more live session with Neetu's Academy. This is Anne with you, and today we are going to deal with our normal Tuesday live, that is the listening Acuity live, dealing with listening module and listening questions. Okay, so I hope that your module practice for all the modules including listening, speaking, reading, writing are going on in full swing, and anybody who is preparing for their exams in the near future, I hope that your practice is up to the mark. But still, till you give your actual test, you need to keep on practicing with all the modules, be it writing and speaking. Anyways, you're going to put your efforts. At the same time, like I always repeat, listening also has to be practiced on regular intervals so that you get used to the different listening type of questions, different kinds of audios, accents, and it will help you for comprehension. Okay, so today also we are going to deal with 10 questions. നമ്മൾ എല്ലാ വീക്കും ചെയ്യുന്ന പോലെ സെക്ഷൻ 1 സെക്ഷൻ 2 or 3 or 4 ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരു സെക്ഷനിലെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് എടുത്ത് നമ്മൾ ഡീൽ ചെയ്യാറുണ്ട്. ഇന്ന് ഞാൻ എടുത്തേക്കുന്ന ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് സെക്ഷൻ 3 എന്നാണ്. പെർട്ടിക്കുലർ കേംബ്രിഡ്ജ് ടെസ്റ്റിൻ്റെ സെക്ഷൻ 3-ലെ 10 questions. Okay, 10 different type of questions you can say. Before going to the questions, we will first listen to, as our method is, we will listen to the audio first, and along with the audio you will get the questions on the screen. It's kind of an audio video mix wherein you will be able to see the questions, all the 10 questions as per the audio clip, and then so that you can listen at the same time you can solve also. അതാണ് നിങ്ങളുടെ നോർമൽ പ്രൊസീജിയർ. നിങ്ങൾ ആക്ച്വൽ ടെസ്റ്റ് തന്നെ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. You listen. If you're going for a CBT especially, you get only 2 minutes to recheck. No time to transfer your answers. Yes, paper test, people who go for candidates who go for paper test, they get 10 minutes to transfer the answers. But people who are going for CBT, which is very common today, you get only 2 minutes to review your answers. So when you are listening to the audio, at the same time you have to copy down the answers also, right, without losing focus. So appo nammal same procedure aanu. You can listen to the audio, you can see the questions on the screen, and you can have a rough book or a paper or a pen, and then you can write down the answers or put it in your comment box, and then or any time after the live you are listening to it, that time also you do the same procedure. Okay, first we will do is we'll listen to the audio clip, the complete audio clip with all the 10 questions, and then after that we will discuss each question, okay, along with the audio script, and so that we can evaluate the same, why this answer is so and why is so. Okay, അതാണ് നമ്മൾ ഫോളോ ചെയ്യുന്ന പ്രൊസീജിയർ. ഇന്നും അത് തന്നെയായിരിക്കും. ഇന്നത്തേക്ക് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ സെക്ഷൻ, ആസ് ഐ മെൻഷൻഡ്, സെക്ഷൻ 3-ലെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ആണ്. അപ്പോൾ ലെറ്റ്സ് ഗോ ടു ദ ഓഡിയോ ക്ലിപ്പ് ഫസ്റ്റ്, ലിസൺ ടു ഇറ്റ് വെരി ക്ലിയർലി, ആൻഡ് ദെൻ കം ബാക്ക് ടു ദ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ സെറ്റ്സ്. സോ ദ ഓഡിയോ ക്ലിപ്പ് വിൽ ബി പ്ലേയിങ് ഇൻ എ കപ്പിൾ ഓഫ് സെക്കൻഡ്സ്.
Now turn to section 3. Section 3. You will hear part of a seminar on ocean research given by a climate scientist. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Thanks to all of you for coming along today to hear about how the robotic float project is helping with ocean research. Well, first of all, we'll look at what a robotic float does and its use. So let's start with the device itself. It looks a bit like a cigar, and it's about 1.5 meters long. More importantly, it's full of equipment that's designed to collect data, so it can help us in building up a profile of different factors which work together within the world's oceans.
Sounds like a big project. Isn't it too big for one country to undertake?
That's quite true, but this project is a really good example of international cooperation. Over the last 5 years, scientists from 13 countries have been taking part in the project and launching floats in their area of ocean control. And next year this number will rise to 14 when Indonesia joins the project.
That's impressive.
But let's move on to how floats work. The operational cycle goes like this. Each of the floats is dropped in the ocean from a boat at a set point and activated from a satellite. Then the float immediately sinks about 2,000 meters. That's 2 whole kilometers down in the water. It stays at this depth for about 10 days and is carried around by the currents which operate in the ocean at this level. During this time, it's possible for it to cover quite large distances, but the average is 50 kilometers.
So, what is it actually recording?
Well, at this stage, nothing. But as it rises to the surface, it collects all sorts of data. Most importantly, variations in salinity, that's salt levels, and the changes in temperature, a bit like underwater weather balloons. Then, when it gets back to the surface, all the data it's collected is beamed up to the satellite. After about 5 hours on the surface, the float automatically sinks, beginning the whole process again.
What happens to the data?
Well, the information is transferred direct to onshore meteorological stations, like our one in Hobart, and within 4 hours the findings can be on computers, and they can be mapped and analysed.
Before you hear the rest of the seminar, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30. You say you're building models of the world's ocean systems, but how are they going to be used? And more importantly, when?
Some of the data has already helped in completing projects. For example, our understanding of the underlying causes of El Niño events is being confirmed by float data. Another way we're using float data is to help us to understand the mechanics of climate change, like global warming and ozone depletion. That's part of an ongoing variability study, but the results are still a long way off. However, this is not the case with our ocean weather forecasting. Because we know from the floats what the prevailing weather conditions will be in certain parts of the ocean, we can advise the Navy on search and rescue missions. That's happening right now, and many yachtsmen owe their lives to the success of this project. In addition, the float data can help us to look at the biological implications of ocean processes.
Would that help with preserving fish stocks?
Yes, and advising governments on fisheries legislation. We're well on the way to completing a project on this. We hope it will help to bring about more sustainable fishing practices. We'll be seeing the results of that quite soon.
It sounds like the data from floats has lots of applications.
Yes, it does. It's also a powerful agricultural tool. If we were aware of what the weather would be like, say, next year, we could make sure that the farmers planted appropriate grain varieties to produce the best yield from the available rainfall.
That sounds a bit like science fiction, especially when now we can't even tell them when a drought will break.
I agree that this concept is still a long way in the future, but it will come eventually, and the float data will have made a contribution.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
So start with Simon. He says, thanks to all of you for coming along today to hear about how the robotic float project is helping with ocean research. Now we are dealing with robotic float project. We are dealing with the shape of robotic float. That is what we're looking for. This is the part. Well, first of all, we'll look at what a robotic float does and its use. So they are telling what it does, what is the purpose of it, and what its use. So let's start with the device itself. So device, the thing, the device itself, the equipment. Then it says it looks like a bit like a cigar. That is where the description is given. What does it look like? We are looking for something it looks like. It looks a bit like a cigar. So what is the shape of the thing? And it's about 1.5 meters long. More important, that's it. That is the description about that particular device. It looks like a cigar and the length of it is 1.5 meters long. We're not looking for the length, we're looking only for the shape of that equipment, right? Of that thing. So your answer for this question will, the blank will be, that is 21. Robot float is shaped like a cigar. Okay, so that will be an answer for that particular blank. Going forward, next one. Scientists from Dash have worked on the project so far. Now, scientists from Dash have worked on the project so far. From maybe it can be a place, okay, a particular location. From there, the scientists have come and they have worked on this project so far. Okay, so we are looking for the keyword is we'll listen for the word scientist. When you listen to that part of the audio, any word scientist or something synonymous to that, people dealing with science or research and all kind of things is mentioned, that means that is your answer part. So let's go to the script. Yeah, more importantly, it's full of equipment that's designed to collect data. So there is the purpose. So it can help us in building up a profile of different factors which work together within the world's oceans. So all the distractors which gives you a time to understand the audio. If you're losing your focus, you're coming back to that. Sounds like a big project. Okay, we are looking for something, the people who have worked on this project. Isn't it too big for one country to undertake? That's quite true, but this project is a really good example of international cooperation. So we are looking for scientists from, like I told, we can make a guess. Maybe you're looking for people who have come from places or some location. Right? So over the last 5 years, scientists from 13 countries have been taking part in the project and launching floats in their area of ocean control. And next year, this number will rise to 14 when Indonesia joins the project. Now, this is something which is you have to pay attention to. Now, the part of the audio says over the last 5 years, that means over the last 5 years, started from 5 years till now, scientists from 13 countries. So, right, 13 countries have been taking part in this project. So, they have been working on this project, right? And launching the floats in the area of ocean control. Then the next sentence in the audio says, and next year this number will rise to 14. So, there's another number here, 14, when Indonesia joins the project. So, now we have 13 and 14. So, when you listen to the audio, maybe you will, if you get confused, let us come to the question. Here, 13 are the people who have already been from the beginning, right? They have been taking part. So, it's kind of in past continuous tense. And then here, the next one, they say that next year, this will rise to 14. Something which is going to happen, not it happened. Next year, this will be rising, will. Again, it's something about future. And the question says, and a blank before the statement says, scientists from Dash have worked, okay, on the project so far. That means we are working for something from the past, okay, that has been happening, have worked. So, 13, 14, don't get confused, the answer will be 13. So, now we have got an instruction which says one word and or a number. That means you can write one word and a number, right? So, here scientists from, you can write, answer will be scientists from 13 countries. Okay, so that will be your answer. That means you are right, your scientists from 13 countries have worked on the project. Okay, this is how you will write your answer for the second blank. So that completes the notes 21 and 22. Going forward is your diagram question. right? That is, complete the diagram below. One word and or a number. Again, it's one word and or a number is what the instruction says. You can write your answer in one word or only one number or one word and a number. That's the three choices you have. So before a diagram, whenever a diagram labeling question comes, which is also one of the common kind of questions, so you have to study the diagram a bit, especially the labels and the parts which are already given to you. In this diagram, you can see that it is showing about the operational, title says operational cycle, right? So what is the operational cycle? Now, there are some things like the global satellite, which is already marked, okay? Meteorological station, information is analyzed, that is also mentioned, arrowed. There's a boat, which has been already given. Then there's water, and then there's an arrow, you can say direction arrow like this, okay, which is telling you the direction of two things with floats. Now here, when you see the blank 23, it says float dropped into ocean and dash by satellite. That is one thing. So always look at the before the blank some words which are going to definitely help you. So the three blanks which you have to three labels which you have to complete, 23, 24, 25, right? And a couple of things which is already given to you, okay? 23 blank says float dropped into ocean and dash by satellite, okay? So we are looking for something once the float is dropped into the ocean and then something connected to the satellite, okay? Something wherein maybe the purpose of satellite, that is what we are looking for, okay? So let's go to the audio script, which will help you out. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so now when we go to the audio script, you can see we read till Indonesia. Okay, so next, the student 2 says, that's impressive. After all those conversations happen, now let's move on how the float works. So what that float works, and that is what the diagram says. Diagram label says operational cycle. Operational cycle means something which the working cycle of something. How does it operate? The working method. So we are looking for that. How does it work? The operational cycle goes like this, which is already given. Each of the floats is dropped in the ocean, right, which we had seen, from a boat and set at a set point and activated from a satellite. So what does the satellite do? And the particular float, when it's dropped in water, it is actually, the satellite is a thing which actually activates it. So that is something, the float is activated from the satellite, right? So what is mentioned here in the diagram? Float dropped in the ocean and dashed by satellite. So the answer will be here, activated. Okay, because the float is that which helps the satellite to be activated from that satellite. So that is the answer for 23, that is activated. Next, average distance traveled. Now distance is generally in numbers. You can say meters, kilometers, or whatever it is. So distance normally will be a number. That means this will be definitely, the answer will be a number, you can guess. So the average distance traveled is what we are looking for. So let's see what the transcript says. Then the float immediately sinks about 2000 meters. There is a number over there, but it is till what depth it sinks. The float immediately sinks about 2000 meters. Till that much depth it actually sinks into the water. That's 2 whole kilometers. Again, one more number is there, 2 whole kilometers. Like I always say, whenever a blank comes, which answer would be number, in that case, definitely you will be having a multiple numbers which are mentioned or spoken in your audio. So here the first was 2000 meters, the sinking depth. Second is they have given 2000 meters is equal to how much? That is 2 whole kilometers down in the water. It stays at this depth for about 10 days. Again, one number is there which specifies a number of days, for how much days it stays down there, and is carried around by the currents which operate in the ocean at this level. During this time, it's possible for it to cover quite a large distances. Okay, so distances, but the average is 50 kilometers. So they're telling the distance covered during this time. What happens? It's possible for it to cover quite a large distances. That means it is able to travel that much distance. And then how much it is, they are mentioning average is 50 kilometers. So that is what we are looking for. How much the float travels on an average. Average distance traveled is 50 kilometers. Okay, that is what you will write in your answer, 50 kilometers, because you have got an instruction to write one word and or a number. You can write it in that way. Okay, you can write kilometers in abbreviation also in the unit method, or maybe you can just write 50 kilometers. Okay, but make sure that you're not writing FIFTY like it's mentioned in the audio. Anyways, audio you cannot listen, sorry for that, it's not reading. So definitely you can add 5, don't write FIFTY and write kilometers. You write 50 numerical and then you write kilometers, because instruction says one word and or a number. You cannot write two words. That will be technically, as per instruction, it will be incorrect. Okay, now coming to next question, the next blank. Float records changes in salinity and dash. So now what does the float actually does? The float records the changes in salinity and something else which we are looking for. What does it record? So let's go to the audio transcript. Okay, so what is it actually recording? And we are looking, the keyword is record. So what are we looking for? What is it actually recording? Well, at this stage, nothing. Okay, stage nothing, but as it rises to the surface, it collects all sorts of data, most importantly variations in salinity, which is already given, that's salt levels, and is a conjunction which says additional some information is and the changes in temperature, right? A bit like underwater weather balloons. Then when it gets back to the surface, all the data it's collected is beamed up to the satellite. Okay, after about 5 hours on surface, the float automatically sinks, beginning the whole process again. Now this is what is mentioned here. So what is it recording? It is recording the variations in salinity, that is salt levels, and the changes in temperature. So your label says float records, because as the word always changes. Now variations is a synonym for changes. Variation means keeps on changing. Okay, so already the changes word is given. So float records were changes in salinity, and the next one they are telling is temperature. So the answer for this blank is temperature. Okay, so 25 answer is temperature, which will be the correct word. Okay, so that completes your diagram labeling. So whenever you're looking at a diagram, before going to the audio, please take the keywords, the labels which are given, the words. If there's a complete label, there's only a blank, there's nothing else before the blank, then it's fine, you have to listen to the audio. But if there is something before the blank, you have to take it as a keyword, which will help you to understand the audio much more clearly without losing focus and quickly getting the answers. Okay, so this was quite a simple diagram with only 3 fill-ups, which is 3 labels. Okay, let's go to the next question. Next set of questions, 26 to 30. In what time period can data from the float projects help with the following things? So there's only a single question, one question is there, main question. What time period? What time period is the time required, or maybe a particular period of time, particular amount of time. From the float, can data from the float projects help with the following things? So like we mentioned, like we heard the audio piece, we know this float data is used for various purposes. So what is the time which is required for the following things? The data which is collected from the float can help for the following things. What is the time period? When? Okay, and the correct letter A, B, C, write the correct letter A, B or C next to the questions 26 to 30. 26 to 30 has got some particular maybe attainments or achievements which can be done with the help of this data from the float. These things can be understood or done more clearly. And then you have got 3 options. A, at present, time period, at present, right now. Okay, in the near future. The near future means somewhere near future, not after a long period of time. Third, C1 in the long term future. That means it will take some time. Okay, so there's a difference. In near future means it will happen maybe next month, next week, tomorrow, maybe something like that. In long term future means something which will take time, definitely. Both are futures, but one is quite near and one will be quite far, and one is at present, A. So you have to select A, B or C for. Now any options can be repeated. A can be repeated twice, B can be repeated thrice maybe, or C can be repeated twice or thrice or whatever, however method, or maybe only once, which one. That's ratio depends. But for 26 to 30 you have to get one option, understanding El Nino, if it's, that things can be done with the data from the float at present, in near future or long term future. Similarly till 30. Okay, what are the uses from the data which is collected from the float can be done with that data, how much time it will take for these things, to be done at a quicker rate, or maybe to attain this as a particular purpose. Let's go to trends. First we'll look at understanding of El Nino. Okay, that's a term which is mentioned. It will happen at present, it will happen near future, or it will happen long term future. So let's go to transcript of understanding the time period of the data from the float. Now we have read till beginning the process again. Now next, the student asks, what happens to the data? Now what happens to data which is collected by the float? That is what you're looking for, right? How is the data used? Simon, well, the information is transferred direct to onshore meteorological stations like our one in Hobart. And then in 4 hours, within 4 hours, the findings can be on computers and they can be mapped and analyzed. So this is how the data is first from that particular float. It goes to the onshore meteorological stations, and then within 4 hours it goes to computers which can be mapped and analyzed. Okay. Student 2, you say you're building models of the world's ocean systems, but how are they going to be used, and more importantly when? So that is where which we have to be more focused on. When we are looking, when that data can be used, or when the data is used, when these things can be coming into full action. Some of the data has already helped. Already helped means done, past. Helped, or maybe it is keep on helping, has already helped in completing projects. Okay, so some of the data which is collected from already it is used to help projects. For example, our understanding of the underlying causes of El Nino events is being confirmed by the float data. Okay, so here that means is being confirmed. That means right now it is being used. The data is being used for this particular understanding of El Nino events. Okay, that is done by the float data. So your first option, the first question, that is 26th question, for that the option will be A, that is at present. Understanding of El Nino is right now being done, so it's at present. Okay, second one, understanding of climate change. Okay, how does this data from the float, or how much time it takes for understanding the climate change? Another way we are using float data is to help us to understand the mechanics of climate change, like global warming and ozone depletion. That's part of an ongoing variability study, but the results are still long way off. So they are actually understanding mechanics of climate change, like global warming and ozone layer depletion and all. However, that's part of an ongoing variability study. So they are actually studying on it, and the results, when the results will come off, they are going to be a long way off. That means it is not going to be in the near future, it's going to take a long time. So that's why your option C correctly matches here. That is in the long term future. So the answer for 27 will be C. Okay. Next one is naval rescues. Okay. What about this rescue operations which are done for the naval, the ships and all? Let's come to that part. However, this is not the case with our ocean weather forecasting, because we know from the floats what the prevailing weather conditions will be in certain parts of the ocean. We can advise the Navy, okay, the naval part, on search and rescue missions. That's happening right now. That means right now means what? Right now means present. At present. So presently, right now. So that is something helping with the naval system that is happening at present. That for that the option will be A, which is again at present, right? So that is the correct one. Okay, going forward, the next option, question is sustainable fishing practices. Label is, keyword is again fishing. How for fishing practices or purposes this is used. Let's go to the part. When you hear the audio piece, you can see after that, and many yachtsmen owe their lives to the success of this project. People who have yachts. In addition, the float data can help us look at biological implication of ocean processes, and that is a distractor. We're looking for fishing. Would that help with preserving, the student asked, would that help with preserving fish stocks? Yes. So the answer is yes. And advising governments on fisheries legislation. We are well on the way to completing a project on this. We hope it will help to bring about more sustainable fishing practice. Sustainable means something which will work on for a longer period of time, which stays for which has a prolonged period. We will be seeing the results of that quite soon. Okay, quite soon means we are expecting to happen it in the very near future. Quite soon. I'm going to meet him quite soon. That means I'm going to meet him very soon. I'm not yet met. It is in the future, but it's going to happen very soon. So here the option will be for that one, sustainable fishing practices, B, because it says in the near future. Okay, so that will be actually B. Last one, crop selection, connected to crops and crop farming and all those kind of things. The last option, let's see. It sounds like the data from floats has a lot of applications, right? Yes, it does. It's also a powerful agricultural tool. Crops are connected to agriculture. If we were aware of what the weather would be like say next year, we could make sure that farmers planted appropriate grain varieties to produce that best yield from the available rainfall. Right? Now next year is something not about the float, it is about if you could know about the weather. Okay, because it's a time period, I'm just explaining it. That sounds a bit like a science fiction, especially when now we can't even tell them what a drought will bring. Simon, I agree to this concept. I agree that this concept is still a long way in future, but it will come eventually, and the float data will have made a contribution. So yes, the float data can contribute for understanding the weather conditions before the cropping period, but this is still a long way in future. That means the correct option will be C, in the long term future. Okay, so that will be understanding El Nino is A, understanding of climate change is C in long term, naval again A, sustaining fishing practice B in near future, and crop selection is long term future. So the options are being repeated, the multiple choices are being repeated. So this is some kind of question wherein you have to take one choice only, but then the options keeps on repeating for the different questions. Okay, so that was our question sets for today, 21 to 30, dealing with note, diagram and multiple choice, a different kind of multiple choice, right? This type of questions can come. So you have to prepare with this type of questions also. Okay, and this can be done only with different question sets when you practice them. Okay, so I think that is where we end it for today. We will be connecting next week with another set of questions, right? And I hope that you'll be practicing on regular basis till we meet again with another set of questions, maybe from section 4 most probably. Till then, you all have a great day and be safe. Thank you. Bye.